What's up, Internet? My name's Nerdy.
And I'm Clarice.
And this is the Season 1 finale of Rings of Power.
Yep.
This episode is called Alloyed.
Yes, it is.
Is there going to be some forging?
Punny.
Do you think we have Rings of Power by the end of this episode?
God. If we don't have at least a mention of the Rings of Power in Season 1, why? Why?
Here's the thing.
That's my question.
If you are looking for people who absolutely love everything about the show, and that's what you actually want, I'm sorry.
I'm going to save you the time. Sorry, this is not it. We definitely have some issues with the show.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that this finale will leave off on a good note, but I'm also sitting here going into the finale going, what is the finale of this? It doesn't feel like we're set up for anything. It feels like the premise of the finale is going to be set up new things.
Yeah.
Because it feels like a lot of our storylines ended last week.
Yeah.
And
we're like going off into the next season.
Yes, especially the Numenorians. So like, we're going to go home, we'll come back later. That very much felt like see you in season 2.
I honestly feel like the Numenorians will not be in this episode except for Isildur.
Oh, okay. Fair.
Like, I think that their storyline did actually wrap up, which, like, I'm okay with. I'm okay with, like, condensing the number of different timelines that we're getting. But, like, for me, for this finale to even, like, remotely work, we need some answers.
Yes.
As opposed to, like, new fake cliffhangers, like, Isildur's alive.
Mm-hmm.
We know this because we've seen...
We're going to find out who Sauron is.
Apparently.
Because they've been running ads all week with some voice going, "You are Sauron."
Great.
For people who are like, I don't even know if these people actually like Tolkien, they just want to hate. The only thing I have tattooed on my body is Tangwar. I want this to be good.
Yes.
So let's watch it.
Yes.
If you want the full-length reaction, come over to patreon.com/nerdynightly. Sorry for the long intro. We have a lot of thoughts and feelings about this one.
Yeah.
And it's time to get into the reaction.
This wound needs elvish medicine.
Needs Elvis medicine, but get up on this horse and we're gonna ride away really fast.
You're being salty.
I know, and I'm sorry.
She won't be alone. You're coming, dude. He's like, oh, God damn it.
I genuinely am sorry, because there are things that I like about this, but I do love Lord of the Rings so much, and this has been, like, very mid for me.
It's been tough. Oh. You don't want that apple anymore. It's bruised. It's not going to be very good, dude. That's a mush right there.
I think it's sentimental.
Oh.
They must be like some kind of Maya, right? To have that amount of magic.
To be able to shapeshift. Isn't that Sauron's ability? Isn't Sauron the shapeshifter?
Sauron can, yes, change his face. So maybe...
Do you think they'll finally speak here?
Haru Sauron.
What? What a weird start to the finale. I thought that would be a bigger deal, but it happens randomly in the woods somewhere.
At least it's not Halbrand. I think that would have been the only worst choice.
Okay, so how many seasons is it going to take for him to speak enough Elvish to convince the elves to make the Rings of Power? He knows like 6 words right now.
Oh my god.
Oh wow, that landed so poorly for me.
Like, I don't get it. Are we supposed to believe that, like, Sauron is, like, in this weird gray area because he was friends with Nori? Like,
no,
and
Adar killed Sauron, and then he came back to life as a comet?
Star, I guess. I guess Morgoth was, like... no, Morgoth's... No,
So Sauron's definitely gonna murder the Harfoots now, right?
Like, Sauron is the bad guy? The one thing about Tolkien's work is that there wasn't, gray villains.
I need Sauron to be, like, chilling with the orcs, and he's like, everyone stays on trail, and everyone stays together, and there's just a bunch of orcs like,
alone.
Nobody walks alone. Looks like walking alone's not on the menu, boys.
No, what's the song from the animated show? Oh my god, where there's a whip or whatever, like, yeah. But it's nobody walks alone.
Oh wow, this got built.
The means of saving all Elvendom.
God damn.
And we have none.
How long has it been?
Who knows?
6 days ago. We rode without rest.
6 days? How is he alive?
How did they get there in 6 days?
They rode without rest.
He's so wounded.
How is it you are here?
Okay. I need this bedroom, please.
Seriously. You can't fault the set design of this show.
It's true.
Discuss.
Yeah, so we're all dying. Do you know how to bathe in the light of a stone?
You're being salty.
I know.
You're being so salty.
I'm sorry. I'm upset.
I like this side of you.
They're not gonna like it.
I know.
Swim.
Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming.
I've seen a trace of nickel added to iron to make a blade lighter and stronger.
An intriguing suggestion.
Let's go, Halbrand. I kind of dug that scene. Like, I like the idea of, like, Celebrimbor was looking at the problem from one way, and Halbrand comes in and just offers a different, like, way of viewing it. You know what I mean?
Days, each of you will be granted 1 hour with the king.
I really hope that this becomes, like, did you ever want to know the backstory of this one painting?
Yeah.
I know what you have been doing in the dark of night when you thought all eyes were asleep.
I'm sorry.
Come, you must go up, but don't do as I did.
She's about to grab the Palantir!
Not just anyone being High King, you.
I'm sure that's who Celebrimbor's thinking about.
I would not be standing here otherwise.
You should not be standing here at all.
Hope is never mere.
Got him!
Or have you forgotten your own counsel?
How do your own words taste? Gilgood, daddy.
Like, I'm assuming they would have to gather all the elves that are across Middle Earth to get them all across the sea, right?
I think their idea is that one person can, like, wield the way that Galadriel will eventually use Nenya to wield influence over all of Lothlorien. They're going to wield influence over all of Middle Earth through one.
Yes, I'm saying that Elrond has time to figure this out because they have to gather the elves to sail across the sea, right? Like, he would have time.
I don't know. Apparently, you can get from Mordor to Lindon in 6 days. So.
Yeah.
Well, one of the people is dying. Also, apparently, Halbrand is like a master alloyman.
Yeah, and better. I mean, I guess Frodo was like, no, he was asleep for several days. Yeah, when Frodo needed elvish magic to be healed.
Okay, but that was a Morgul blade. That's different.
I shall have to scour the catacombs for that information.
None of the short-haired elves have looked as much like a Klingon as he does. That is you cannot convince me that's not a Klingon.
You mean a Vulcan?
Sorry, a Vulcan.
There you go.
Yeah. That is a Spock haircut if I have ever seen one.
Yeah. Although I do love that dress. If someone wants to...
And I'll see to it that no one else does either.
Either he's evil or they're being really weird. Or they want us to think that Galadriel's just overly suspicious. And so this is all from Galadriel's point of view, not from our point of view. Which is actually an interesting way to play it.
The stars. A pattern visible in but one place.
Is that
really how stars
work?
But they're magic stars. They're pretty cool. I like the three of them.
What is it?
Abort! I really hope they free him, and then all of season 2, it's just the Harfoots hanging out with the literal devil. Teach him some more words.
The devil's number one servant, I guess, if Morgoth is the devil, but...
Sure.
Sure, yeah.
Oh! Cool shot.
That was rad.
Cool shot. Oh, that looks awesome. Puppy! All of the visuals around the rocks floating look incredible.
Very cool, yeah.
They did a really good job with the design of this.
Mm-hmm.
You're here to help. I know it.
So Nori is responsible for all the bad things in Middle Earth after this point?
Kind of. Why is Sauron getting heroic music? I am so baffled by what they're doing.
Yeah.
I'm good.
So he's not Sauron.
So Halbrand is Sauron. So the reason they had the whole opening scene was so that... And they didn't know? Why is this show so complicated?
If you don't mind,
That was well delivered.
Just sit a while. Watch the sun come up.
He's a gem.
Yeah.
He's something else. As much as some of that didn't work for me in terms of like the choices they made, that scene was well done. All the action looked fantastic.
Yep.
There was really good stuff there.
Yep.
The fake out of the Sauron stuff doesn't work for me, but like everything about that scene looked pretty fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
And the performance of Sadak at the end there was incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, he's great. Oh.
It's to honor him.
Oh, I was like,
wow, Farazan took over
what?
fast.
Yeah. I was very confused for
That's
a
a
moment.
cool tradition, though. All the ships fly black sails when the king dies.
The metals shouldn't be forced to join, but more drawn or coaxed together.
We need to get a bottle of Franzia. We need to get, a box of Franzia, some chocolate-dipped strawberries. We're going to seduce these metals together. We get it, he's evil.
So that's his fair form?
I mean, he's hot.
Yeah, he's hot.
He's fair.
Not like fair, like as in elvish looking.
No, but he's hot. That's what he's fair. He's fair. I get it. I'd sleep with him.
It'll need to be something
smaller. Uh-huh.
You know who I am.
Who you really are.
I've had many names.
Lose your footing again, sister.
God, she does the thing where she like tries to keep her eyes open to cry, and they okay.
It worked though. She got tears.
Yep. That was a cool shot.
The manipulations of Sauron, they're handling this really well.
Sauron lives because of you! And you will die because of me!
I was very close to the camera.
Yeah. I could feel the spit. I have to say, I think it is a very interesting choice, the whole tempting her with the power and queenship and that parallel to the Fellowship. The Fellowship, yes.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
One will always corrupt. Two will divide.
But with three, there is balance.
Sure, math.
Okay.
I need gold and silver of the most exquisite quality.
Oh, she's gonna use Celebrimbor's dagger to make her ring. That's pretty cool.
You're part of something bigger now.
He needs you.
Not without me, Mistress Nori. Not without me. You know Poppy's going.
No. Poppy's gonna be their new trail finder.
Ah, okay. The way that hill was shaped, I really thought they were going to be like, let's just stay here and call it the Shire.
Yeah.
Don't squat by river. Never know when you'll need a drink downstream.
I think she should also be taught trim your bangs. Just like tickling her nose.
Go on, before you lose your nerve.
Or we lose ours.
Why does everyone I love the most always have to go away?
Oh my god. If I was a writer on SNL, this would be my sketch this week. Would just be Nori says goodbye to each of the Harfoots individually.
Yes, and hugs them each like 7 times.
And it's well done. It's beautiful.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's
but...
just like oh wow, the runtime of this episode is over an hour and maybe doesn't need to be.
When in doubt, Eleanor Brandyfoot. Always follow your nose.
Maybe that's just something all the wizards say. So at some point in the next 1,000 years, he dies and then comes back on a boat, right?
Nope.
He has to.
Nope. They're doing whatever they want to. So Saruman's already here, maybe?
Sure.
He wrote a different comment.
I'm not gonna lie. In terms of episodes of the show, this has been the best one by far for me. In terms of execution.
Okay.
I think like the individual scenes work for me. I think some of the reveals don't. I think there's stuff that I'm like, I'm not into that. I don't like that Gandalf's here. I don't love the way Halbrand as Sauron was revealed, but then I really liked how they handled it.
You're right. I like the scenes themselves. I like the
I think there's
small
really good acting.
pieces. I think the overall puzzle is a fucking nightmare.
I was going to say it's slightly messy, but sure. I think that Sauron manipulating the elves in Eregion should have been longer.
Weeks at least. Did he already make the 9 rings for men and the 7 for the dwarves? Plus his 1 ring?
I think he's going to do that in more... But then why did the dwarves take them? Also, why do they think that this is a good idea when it came from Sauron?
Great question.
It's literally the Eye of Sauron.
Oh my god. Why wasn't this episode called The Eye?
Because every other television show called their episode this week The Eye. That's cool. These visuals are pretty awesome.
Oh, it's the most beautiful show I have ever seen. Consistently.
Mm-hmm.
It just keeps letting me down.
Admittedly, I know nothing about smithing, but that all looked really awesome.
What?
Galadriel is Sauron right now.
But the 3 rings were supposed to be forged in secret away from the taint of Sauron. That's why they're not controlled by the 1 ring. Wait, did she not tell them? Wait, what is happening right now?
She's allowing the rings to be forged, like how Sauron told her to. Every kiss begins with K.
I named my D&D character after one of the rings.
You're so cool.
Shut up.
You just know there's going to be some weddings coming up where people are wearing the...
They're chunky boys, though.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
gotta commit.
Wow, she didn't tell them and allowed the rings to be forged.
She didn't tell them...
That he's Sauron. Because Sauron was right.
You would think Galadriel, the one person who has spent her entire life fighting against Sauron,
yes,
would not want the rings to be made.
Wait, that's the end of the season? Here's what I will say. I think that, like, in terms of writing, that was the most solid episode of the season. I think the scenes are all pretty great. I think the way that a lot of the emotion is handled is pretty top-notch.
Sure, yeah.
I think that what it means for, like, the story they're going to tell moving forward is confusing. And it gets into, like, big questions of why... That the show is going to have to answer in its own way, but, like, why do the dwarves take the rings?
It brings up so many questions about the rings.
Yeah.
My question is Galadriel goes to Halbrand and is like, hey, like, I need you to come with me to Middle Earth, do this thing, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And he, like, considers saying no, but only, like, for the audience. Like,
what do you mean he considers saying no?
There's the moment where he, like, puts his, like, sigil down on the table to leave it. There's nobody there to see him do it except the audience.
Because he wants to stay in Numenor. I think Sauron's riffing. Because Sauron does eventually go to Numenor to bring about the fall of Numenor. Right? After he's revealed as Sauron, he goes and makes the One Ring in Mount Doom, and then he goes to Numenor and creates and dooms
You're saying
Numenor.
He's gonna go back to Numenor under a different disguise?
Yeah, he has to. That is what happens in the book.
He gets captured.
Yeah, but he still goes back to Numenor and brings about the doom of Numenor after he's revealed to be Sauron by the elves.
Yes, but he gets captured to go there. That's not like...
Sure, and maybe he'll get captured when the Numenorians return.
I just would have thought that, like, his
Is
main
he gonna go
goal...
meet Isildur now?
I thought his main goal would be
Isildur
to have...
was not brought up!
No, Isildur was not.
We know he's alive.
I know, we know he's alive. You can just say it. That should have been the post-credit scene, is fucking Brego. I mean, what's his face? What's the horse's name?
OG Brego.
OG Brego. His, like,
Brego's great.
No, but you, like, why would he want to stay in Numenor when I feel like his goal should be to bring about the birth of Mordor and Mount Doom exploding and carry out that plan? He
did. But he was like, I can do that later. I think that Sauron is not hung up on the order in which his plans go down. I think he's like, I got plans on plans on plans, and I'm going to hit them in different orders. I think he's like, oh, I'm already in Numenor. I might as well deal with this now. Why he's on that ship with those people is very confusing to me.
In the middle of the ocean?
He must have been trying to get to Numenor. Maybe he was like, Mordor isn't ready yet.
Numenor. Like...
No, but he might have commissioned that ship to sail to Numenor. Right? Okay, so when we meet him, he's left the Southlands from an orc attack with those people, right? Maybe. We don't know if they were all attacked by orcs. He was attacked. He says that he's attacked by orcs. Everyone else is dead at that point, so I don't know if that's true. He might have literally come from the Southlands and been like, I'm the king to be. We're taking a ship north, right? And he's trying to get to Numenor. What's very confusing to me is that Galadriel knows the sigil of the Southlands king, but doesn't know that
his lineage died out
1,000 years ago.
Yeah, not even like recently,
yeah.
And not even like recently for an elf, like 200 years ago. 1,000, like that is what?
I mean, I guess like maybe elves don't really care that much about kings. I just find like that detail to be weird that there's like a book in Linden about it.
I guess maybe she's out of touch because she's been running around to the edge of the map.
Yeah.
Sure.
There's a lot of things about the show now that I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to care about in terms of season 2. Like we got to the rings. We didn't do anything with the rings for so long,
and then we
just did it in an afternoon.
Immediately did it in
But then like all of the nonsense between Gil-galad and Celebrimbor lying to Elrond about why they need the dwarves, like it ultimately like just didn't matter.
And how are these rings? I guess they're magical. Okay, I
guess
magic. Yeah, that they are magic. Yeah. Are they magic because of the mithril? Are the rings literally part Silmaril? Because
yes, in this world, kind of.
kind of bonkers.
Well, they have the magic of the Silmarils in them because Mithril is derived from Silmarils in the show. Yes.
Okay. Still don't understand how they're gonna bathe in the light of
but this gets into my problem with the plot of the bathing in the light. The darkness that is consuming the light of the elves just never really made sense to me.
Yeah.
And now that they have the rings, I think in season 2, I think the smarter choice for them, honestly, is to never bring it up again. Say the rings fixed it and like move on. Because it was never really established deep enough that A, I care about the solution because I don't understand the problem. And B, we now have a solution that kind of hand waves away the problem.
Or maybe Sauron manufactured this like weird disease on the tree and they were like, we're all gonna die.
But like if the tree is sick, why are they like, I never really understood why they who never seem to be depleting in any, like, it's not like we saw elves get sick. I think that if they had set up that like, oh, there's like this camp where we're taking the elves who are sick to send them to Valinor. Like, I think that there's a way they could have made it seem tangible, but there's literally one tree that's sick.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I don't buy that the elves, I just never bought into that plot.
I think it symbolizes more so their immortality. Like, I don't think that the elves are going to immediately get sick and die, but they just
No, he's like, if we're here in the spring, we're dead.
That's, you know what?
Like, that's the plot.
Or
we
they
have
lose
6
their
months.
immortality.
But what does that mean?
I am grasping at straws to try and justify what the writers have set up for us, and I shouldn't have to do that.
That plot line to me, of all of the plot lines, is the most just kind of random. And it gets back to like, how did Celebrimbor test the mithril if this is the only mithril that they have? Like, what did he test? What did that mean?
No idea.
And so I
tested it. Really? How?
There's just questions about this season where I'm like, I was really hoping that he was going to be like, here's the mithril that we have from Valinor, because in the lore there is mithril in Valinor, right?
Yes.
That is one of the places where you can mine it. And so I was kind of hoping that there would be some reference to that or some like...
But then it wouldn't fit in with the whole lightning striking the tree while the guy in the Balrog fought.
Well, no, but the Silmarils are from there. So like you could assume that the same magic that created mithril under that mountain could have created mithril under Always Mountain, right? I would buy that. That there are 2 magical places where mithril grew. Okay. I buy. Celebrimbor not having mithril or any like... They really hammer home. It's like, this is the only piece that we have.
Yeah, stretch this puppy as far as it's gonna go.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that whole plotline fully worked for me. I really wanted this show to show Anatar among the elves manipulating them and turning them to darkness, and instead he kind of like was there for a day and a half.
Yeah.
On like a field trip.
Yeah.
And he got what he wanted, and like I'm down for that, but because I really liked him and Galadriel's manipulation scene. I thought that the way it was handled was beautiful.
Yeah,
I thought the actor playing Halbrand delivered an incredible performance. I thought Morphy Clark played a lot of the scenes in this episode well.
Yes.
Especially with Elrond. She
was better in this episode than I have felt in previous episodes.
Yeah, I'm just going to be completely honest. I think that she could work with a coach on some jaw tension for season 2. Maybe that sounds condescending.
It is distracting.
It is distracting how tense her face is.
Yes.
And also the way she keeps her arms at the side. Like she just has a way of standing in scenes that is a little bit flat. And I think that if she could just like loosen up, especially like her upper shoulder area and her jaw, I think that it would just be a little bit less stiff for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially when she's up against these actors who are being very like languid.
Yeah.
And like Halbrand in this episode, I thought Celebrimbor's performance in this episode was particularly strong.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what they want me to like be excited for going into season 2.
I don't know. I also am not sure really why they redesigned the rings.
They might not. That might be a legal rights issue.
Okay, sure.
The jeweler who created the rings for the original trilogy you literally have a trademark. It's like how you can't just like, it's like how The Hangover 2 got sued for Mike Tyson's tattoo.
The tattoo.
There are design rights.
I'm not mad at it. I thought it was interesting. So it's like, oh, those are like a very different vibe. So like we're distinctly making a choice, and I'm like, all right, they're cool.
They're chunky. They're big.
Margaret
Clark has small hands. That ring is gonna be
massive. I know.
I really am surprised now because let's be honest. Other than the fight with the 3 people, there isn't a lot of action in this finale. It's not like the epic finale that I think a lot of people would expect from the show, given that last week's episode was such a talky episode.
Yeah.
Why did they introduce the Balrog last week?
No idea.
Where are the dwarves? The dwarves are not in the finale at all.
Also, Sauron is a Maiar.
Yes.
Okay. And he gets this grievous wound, and the elves don't...
Is the wound real?
It maybe, but like I feel like medicine on a demigod is maybe different than a man from the South.
But he can just make it look like it does what it...
Not make it look like, but you would think that like...
He's the king of illusion magic. If anyone can fake healing, he can fake healing in that bed.
So does he fake like how his flesh behaves as a human? Not? Okay, all right.
It's not real, right? It's just an illusion of a wound. And so as they're working their elvish magic,
actually got hurt.
They found him on the side of the road. It was too suspicious.
Yeah, sure.
It is weird to me now that they also didn't bring up Celeborn. There's so many loose threads on this season that are really like...
And we're
not getting another season of the show for 2 years at least.
And here's the thing, they're not set up in a way that I'm like, oh, cool. Okay, what are they going to do with this? I'm excited to see where this goes and what we get in 2 years.
Yeah.
They're set up in such a way that I'm just like annoyed. I'm like, okay, it seems like you forgot about this. It's like in Game of Thrones, the last couple seasons when people started being like, okay, but like, what about this? And the writer's like, oh yeah, we forgot about that. Like, like that's what it feels like.
No, I think it's very intentional here. I think that they plotted out a 5-season arc, and I think that they
were like, we're gonna mention Celeborn.
I think they're so sure that they're gonna get all 5 seasons that they were like, we don't need to get to that right away. I don't know. It depends on how the last 2 episodes performed, right? So the first episode did incredibly well. We know that to be the case, right? Yeah. I'm not surprised. It really depends on how many people followed through on the season.
Yeah.
I don't know what that number is. No one is gonna know. Amazon Prime is not gonna tell us. What?
Brian was like, at least we know how Halbrand teleported in front of Adar on the horse to stop him from getting away with the sword.
Oh, that's how... Yeah, no, wait. That does answer that. How did Halbrand get ahead of Adar?
Yeah.
It's because he's a Maiar.
He's
okay.
A demigod.
See, there are answers here. Mm-hmm. They're not the answers I wanted. I really did not want him to be Gandalf. Like, I just really... And if he is not Gandalf in season 2, it is going to be so
it's gonna
weird.
Be weird. No,
He just said things that Gandalf will say in 3,000 years, but...
No, I hate it.
I don't like that he's Gandalf. I'm just...
No, you could have... Okay, you have the 2 blue wizards, okay? Mm-hmm. You have characters that you can create. You have characters that have very little known about them that you can pull from. And you can give us... something new and exciting to like get on board with, to be, oh, I have a new character that I can like love and find out what their journey is. And you give us like early version Gandalf who like shouldn't really be there and is gonna repeat the steps of his journey that we saw in the Fellowship?
No, he's gonna die and get sent to the sky. He can't be at the final battle of men and elves. Like, he can't be at the last alliance, right? There's no way Gandalf is there for that fight. So Gandalf is going to get taken off of the board in the show, and it's going to be very sad. And then I think in the epilogue of the show, it's going to be like 1,000 years later, and we're going to see Gandalf sail. Well, that's how he gets there. In like 1,100 after the battle, he doesn't get there for over 1,000 years after Sauron's fall, right? So at some point, in the epilogue, we're going to see Gandalf make it back to Middle Earth with the gray cloak and the staff and the...
But luckily, I guess his memory is going to be... Like, what?
That battle scene looked really cool.
Yes.
It was that, honestly, in terms of like magic, I thought it was visually handled really well. I thought the way the rocks floated, I thought the like time stoppage, it reminded me visually of the Sauron Gandalf fight.
Yes, yeah.
In the way that Saruman throws Gandalf around.
Yeah.
But it had a little bit of a different flair to it. And I thought making the magic visually similar to that fight from Two Towers.
Yeah,
Fellowship. I think that was a smart choice and I liked it.
Yeah, it kind of took that fight and almost like elevated it because there was more stuff. You know, that fight, it's basically two men using their staffs to like toss one another around. And like, that's fine. Like it, you know, I still really like that fight. It's
usually
not...
when two men toss...
All right, I'm gonna
their
stop
staffs
you
around and...
right there. But they kind of took that and like did a little bit more with it and got a little bit more creative with that magic. Yeah. So I think that was really cool. It worked well visually. The Harfoots getting involved was like silly, but in like an endearing way.
But killing Sadoc gives stakes in a way that I was like, that's good. This is gonna sound messed up because I think that actor was one of the better performances of the season. Mm-hmm. Like if you were like, who would you give an Emmy to in the show? Sadoc's not on that list.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He's up there. I think that killing him gives the show stakes because it's like the Harfoots have felt like the like safe storyline in the season, even though there was the wolf moment and taking a little bit of safety away from them, I think was really smart moving forward.
Especially before Nori goes on her journey.
I know, but I'm not gonna lie, I don't give a shit about Nori on that journey. Like it matters so little to me moving forward, partially because I don't really care what Gandalf gets up to.
Because he's gonna die anyways?
No part of me is interested in seeing Gandalf in this show, unfortunately, because he's not supposed to be there.
Yeah, like I don't really care.
And he doesn't have a part to play. And so Nori being a character whose purpose is heart in a storyline that you're just, it's unfair to the show. And I'm going to be honest, it is unfair to the show, but you're never going to be able to convince me that I should care about Gandalf being there when he just shouldn't be. And I think that there is a story to tell about the last alliance of men and elves and dwarves, right? About these races coming together, that you don't need Gandalf because, but people who don't like, or people who aren't like, who are just casual movie fans, we have to throw in the characters they know. It's why Elendil's early, it's why Isildur's early, it's why Gandalf's here.
You don't have to do that.
Only characters who are really important to the movies are in here, right? Yeah. They've done that pretty consistently throughout the show.
Yeah.
Even Halbrand, who I thought was a great character, and I was excited for him to become a Witch King, or I was excited to watch him be corrupted later because he had good heart and he was played so well early on.
Yeah.
He's Sauron. So, like, our main cast of the show are all in the movies. Even Gil-galad, who makes an appearance in The Last Lines of Men Elves. The only one who isn't is Celebrimbor, but Celebrimbor forges, you have to have him.
Yeah.
But this show, obviously Arondir and Bronwyn, but they didn't make the finale, so I'm sure they're fine somewhere.
They're having their honeymoon.
But I hope so. He's a good-looking man. And she's a good-looking lady. They're a good pair. I just think in terms of like setting up season 2, the finale rather conveniently wraps up the season 1 worry for the elves. Like, I'm not really sure what their problem is in season 2, other than Galadriel's gonna hunt Sauron again. Like, that's her plot, right? She now has to go, or maybe she doesn't, and she's like, nah, I got my ring, I'm going to Lothlorien. Like, she has to go find
Celeborn and have a daughter, maybe?
The daughter has to be born already, because her and Elrond get married real soon.
You're right, Arwen exists, so yes.
She's kind of important to the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Also, why did those 3 sorcerers...
How did they not know that he wasn't Sauron?
That's what I'm asking. How
did they fuck that up?
Why did they think he was Sauron?
And if Gandalf is the Meteor Man, which he is, right? Why was the fire cold when Nori touched it?
No idea.
Like, we are literally told at the beginning of that episode that fire is cold because it's so evil. Unless he's sent down, maybe, like... No, Morgoth can't send him down, and Halbrand is on.
No,
there's no like evil that could send him.
It does not make any sense. Okay,
no.
And the weirdest part about it is that they knew there might be an other because they mention, oh, he's the other. I'm like, you didn't think to check first before you like found this guy and like bowed to him? Like, you were just like gonna be like, yeah, no, he's probably Sauron, and like that's good enough for me, even though there might be one other person who it could potentially be instead. And
I want the scene where they took that giant discus and they flipped it like a coin, and they were like, which one are we going after? Which Maiar are we going for?
Like, how do you?
I don't know. I don't get it at all. It led to my favorite action sequence of the show.
We don't we won't get answers for that.
Yeah. Also, when they died, they very much looked like the Witch Kings.
Yeah.
When Frodo has the ring on, like the visual of the Witch King, which is an interesting. I'm interested in that. I think that like there's some really cool visual choices here.
They might be like.
Witch ladies?
There's like a step under the Maiar, and I can't remember what they're called, but maybe they are like demigods.
Maybe.
I don't know. But yeah, they were like
that is the level the elves are at, right?
I don't believe so. No, I think that there are like
remember.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It might in season 2.
No,
in 2024.
Bonkers. They're dead, so it doesn't matter. They became moths and they flittered away into darkness.
I think the moths were his power. I don't think that they became moths. I think that the moths were like a symbol of
his bisexuality. We always knew Gandalf was bi.
But one of the problems the show's going to have with him being Gandalf is they can't call him Gandalf.
No, because he doesn't have that name yet.
Because he gets named Gandalf like way later.
Are they going to call him Mithrandir? Like, I guess.
Probably. Mithrandir's a dope name.
Sure.
It just doesn't... If they're going for... Here's my problem with it. Is if they're going for Gandalf because we need to like get people interested, then when they start calling him Mithrandir, they're going to have to do like a press campaign that's like, oh, by the way, if you don't know, Mithrandir is Gandalf. But we can't call him that on the show because he gets named Gandalf in like 2,000 years after he gets sent back to heaven and then returns here by boat somehow.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm so hung up on the lore, but what's weird about this show is that there's a lot of lore that is right, and so there's a lot of moments where they'll mention something that if you know the lore, you know what they're talking about.
Yes,
that is correct. I don't know where they deviate.
That's the problem. They expect you to kind of know some of the lore, but they also expect to have full liberty with it in a way that does not make sense.
I would argue they're hoping that you know nothing about the lore, so you just go with whatever they say.
But the problem is then certain things are like, I feel like probably a bit confusing. Like even if you didn't know the lore, but you were like, this timeline seems a little funky.
Yeah.
Like, because it does.
Well, and all the people who are like, they're on alternate timelines. They're not.
They're not.
There is one timeline.
They all saw the comet. It all happened at the same time. And I just like...
Well, and now everything is literally tied together in the timeline.
Yeah.
Like all the characters, except for Nori and what's-his-face, everybody has merged now.
I want to be very, very clear on this because I don't think I have been in the past. I feel like I've said this, but it doesn't matter. Take liberties and make changes with the lore. I'm like... I don't even know it that well. I love this world and the Lord of the Rings means a lot to me, okay? Just do it well. I don't care that it's different. It's this weird in between and that you're not doing a good job with it. And that's the problem. If it was good and it was different, I'd be like, cool, something new, something different. I'm totally down. I'm on board for it. Okay, that doesn't fit the lore, but like, that's cool. You've got this over here that you can enjoy, and then you have this, which is something completely different. This is bonkers.
I wish this finale didn't feel so anticlimactic, where they just kind of make the rings.
Yeah, there was no...
Halbrand is Sauron, he kind of leaves.
Yeah.
The stranger is Gandalf. That's all that really happens. What I'm most surprised about this finale is how little's in it.
Yeah, it's like an hour.
In terms of the storyline.
And those are the
well, but 20 minutes of that is Nori and Poppy saying goodbye.
Yep.
That when they hugged in slow motion, I was like...
Did they hug in slow motion?
Yeah. When Poppy first runs, when she leaves her family and she walks up the hill and Poppy first runs to her, that whole shot is in slow motion. But you can't tell because the whole scene is so long that it kind of feels like it's playing out in real time. But her Poppy running up to her and grabbing her is in slow motion, and then when it cuts to the close-up, it goes back to real time.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
There's a lot of slow motion in the show, and it's very long. I don't think any of these episodes had to be over an hour, and I would be hard-pressed to find a reason why every episode was so long, other than, like, them wanting it to feel... I almost feel like they were like, people really love the extended editions. We need to make this feel like the extended editions.
No, it's not how that works.
But the problem is that there's very little plot that actually happens episode to episode.
Yeah.
And so it's tough. Like, I feel, this is one of those things where I feel like, and I don't usually love them, but I feel like this is a show where an editor could make the, like, phantom edit. And
it's like 6.5 hours as opposed to 8, like.
Yeah, sure, 6.5.
Plus?
No. Sure, 6.5. I don't think you could get this down to a movie. I think that you could cut this whole season into a 2.5-hour movie. I think that you could literally cut almost all of it down to a 2.5-hour movie. For how much plot actually happens and how much actually matters, you can cut almost everything the Harfoots do. Right? Like, ultimately, they don't get very far. You literally cut, they find the Meteor Man, they meet the wolves in the woods, he saves them, they meet those ladies, they burn the carts, and then they go to the fight. Like, you could get through all of the Harfoot's actual plot that matters, and you just cut a lot of the, we all always walk together, let's rip the wheels off their carts and leave them to die. You can cut all of that, because it doesn't functionally matter to what happens in their story.
Yeah.
You can cut so much of the Southland stuff, right? You don't need a lot of the... And I'm not saying that the show doesn't need it. It's an 8-hour show. It's telling a different kind of story. But I'm saying for how much plot is in the season, you could get all of this shrunken down real quick. Yeah. And I hope that season 2 has more plot. I hope that it has a little bit more thrust, a little bit more motion. Because, yeah, they forged the rings at the end, but, like, that didn't feel earned.
No.
It also is completely random. Like, the episode starts with them not knowing what they're forging.
Yeah.
And then he's like, hi, scepter, sword, we can make a crown because circles are better.
Circles?
Well, we can't make a crown, so we're going to make 2 rings. And then on a whim.
3.
But it's on a whim. It's like, Galadriel's like, no, not 2, because that will divide us. But 3. It's like Mad Libs a little bit in terms of how they get to rings in one episode. And, like, I feel like Celebrimbor and Gil-galad and Anatar could have been a main plot of the whole season.
Yeah.
Instead of
I would have loved to have watched that, like, political manipulation. Like,
100%.
You know, I really like Game of Thrones. I like that, like, intricate, like, you know, if you're gonna go for a slow burn like this, you can do interesting stuff, like, on that level. Like, the below the surface and the manipulation and, like, the outward face as opposed to, like, the inward goals. And, like, I find that very fascinating. I do not find this fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a slow burn until it was not at the very end. And they were like, we forgot to, like, move this forward. But I'm glad the elves' light isn't going to die because they made the rings. Where did the dwarves get the rings from now? And, like, where did the humans get the rings from? Also, who are the human kings going to be? Like, we haven't met any kingdoms of men.
Oh, that's true.
Like, no, but we actually haven't. There are no kingdoms of men yet. And Isildur and Elendil are already alive. Like, unless the next episode the next season is 70 years in the future. You know what I mean? Like, and that's that they can do that. Isildur is 250 when he cuts off Sauron's ring finger, right?
So he's going to be 2050 by the time it comes around?
No, but I'm saying they could stretch, instead of it being 1,600-ish years between the rings being forged and the last alliance, they could make it like 160 years. That would work. Sure. Although at some point Nori's going to have to die of old age.
Yeah.
Or they're going to condense it so much that the war is, like, breaking out at the start of season 3. And, like, Isildur's going to still look like he's like a 19-year-old kid. Which doesn't... It just... I'm worried about... I'm worried about the show moving forward.
Here's the problem. Like, Isildur and Elendil still need to, like, found Gondor.
It's going to happen in an afternoon. They built all of Eregion off screen in, like, 4 weeks.
That forge went up in 72 hours. Like...
Well, no, it's been weeks.
Yes, you're right.
There's maybe 6... But
I am exaggerating, but it went up so fast.
But it gets to the, like, it took them 6 days to get there. Also, the dwarves built that whole thing, and we never see any of that.
No, we never saw any dwarves.
We never see a dwarf leave Khazad-dûm.
That's not true with the table. They did take the table.
Okay, no, there's 2 dwarfs with Durin, but they're with Durin. We never see... Like,
no, we never see the dwarves building the forge. We never see what that plan is. We never see how long it takes. We never see... what it's supposed to be like
there should be dwarves all over that place. We never see Celebrimbor interact with a dwarf that whole time.
I know. And they're like, we need an entire workforce, like, outside of the elves, you would have hundreds, I'm assuming.
It's just weird that it's all off screen. It's weird that none of that was covered. Like, the show's weird. Because there is great stuff. There is great acting in this episode, right? Yeah. Halbrand's actor, I should know his name by now, but he crushed it. Celebrimbor crushed it. Elrond was a little bit more subdued this episode. I feel like he kind of got like...
He's not
with Durin, so they're like...
Yeah, like it was Galadriel and Celebrimbor focused.
Gil-galad, actually, I really appreciated him, the way he pushed back. Yeah. It was a bit weird that it came on him being so willing to have secrets with Celebrimbor earlier in the season, and now he's like, well, no, we give up. But it led to a great moment for Elrond.
Can feed him his line back to him.
So there is great stuff in here, truly. There really is, right? And I think that that's true of this whole show. I think that there's great acting, and I think there are great scenes. And I think that ultimately it is the pacing of the larger story that is consistently not drawing me in.
Yeah.
And it's the way that they're teasing out information for like wow sakes.
Yeah.
That it's just not working for me.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they're gonna fix that, but I hope they do. Like, I hope season 2 works more for me than the plot of the season does, because the plot of the season is so complicated and it is so all over the place. And like, I ultimately, like, I don't like how a lot of these things came about. The behind the scenes of, or it's the prequelitis of the show, of them feeling like, oh, we're going to explain how Numenor was created. And I'm like, it's a country. Like, what, why did Morgoth build a dam that falls apart if you stick a blood key into it? Like, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It got into the, like, we need to explain these little things that you could have just said that Mordor was a place. Like, I didn't need... It looks really cool, and the volcano exploding was great, but it gets into, like, why are there so few people in the Southlands if they're a country? Like, there's, like, 60 people there. Like, there's just these weird issues of scale and of distance and of plotting and that mar the whole season for me.
Why does Adar think that he killed Sauron?
I don't know. He survived, so we'll find out next season, because Sauron is now in Mordor. Because he rode for another 6 days, or he teleported. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Can Sauron teleport?
He can magic. He can magic real good.
I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know where to land on this show. Like, I think if they had another season coming out in a year, I think they'd be in okay shape after that. I think that is an exciting enough finale. I think that enough people are going to find the reveals that they finally revealed some stuff will satisfy some people. And I think that if there was a show in a year, I think that in 2024, when season 2 comes out, I think that they're going to have to do so much work to market it, to get that going again. Because, and this is my problem with a lot of streaming stuff, right? We're in an age where shows don't come out in October every year.
Yeah.
And so audiences can't set their calendar to the stuff that they love.
Yeah.
Like, for most of my life, the television shows that I watched had a day and a time.
Yeah.
And if I wasn't home, and granted, like, you know, if I wasn't home, I didn't get to see it until we got a DVR. But there is something to that, like, yearly release and the value of it that I worry about shows like Rings of Power being like, season 2 will come out when it's done. And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Should I even be excited about it?
It was also, like, the reveals that they gave us were the reveals that the internet called on day one.
Well, who else was Sauron going to be? Like, it was either the Stranger or Halbrand. And the fake out felt cheap to me.
Well, the fake out felt cheap, and then, like, the payoff, like, none of it was very interesting. Because it was like, okay, well, like, what else is it going to be, I guess? Like,
yeah, but the scene between Halbrand and Galadriel, great.
Sure, that scene was great, but if you wanted to have this, like, kind of, like, mystery box type of story with these two characters, you could have given more of a mystery.
It is, like, it is a little strange looking back on, like, Halbrand's actions throughout the season, when you're like, okay, yeah. I think that's my problem, is that both of those reveals I shrugged at.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I was like, oh, okay.
Well, the internet called it. Okay. I was really hoping
I'm not sure that reveal
was
worth 6 episodes.
Yeah. Yeah.
We talked about this for a long time. It's really late. It's past 2 a.m. and we have book club in the morning. We should end this.
Yeah.
I will talk about this show for a long time though, because this is one of those moments where I'm like, this was the most expensive show of all time. Literally the most expensive television show ever. And it shows. It looks great.
Yeah.
I really don't think that it is ultimately good. I think that it has amazing, amazing moments. Like top tier, incredible casting, incredible visuals, incredible cinematography, incredible set decoration, incredible. And then the tying together of it is much like the Tower of Ostirith.
It's held together by
one rope, and that rope snapped for me.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that there's amazing stuff here. And I ultimately think that as like a longer narrative, when things happen is random. When they do happen, they're very fast. And then there's long periods where nothing happens. And they love to tease stuff for the future. They're really hoping people stick around because they're like, Balrog, eventually. Arondir and Bronwyn don't know where. I guess they're going to a Numenorian colony.
Yeah, I guess.
So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the long-term goal of the show is. I think we're going to randomly get how rings are forged in different places throughout the seasons, maybe. Or maybe the elves make the rings to help them fight Sauron, maybe. Or I don't know.
Rings for men? Like,
Someone has to... But doesn't Celebrimbor forge the 7 rings for the dwarves and the 9 rings for the men?
Yeah, so...
With Sauron tainting them?
From what I understand,
yeah.
Sauron and Celebrimbor together forge those rings... Mm-hmm. Which is why they're tainted. And Celebrimbor forges the 3 elven rings in secret away from Sauron. So Sauron doesn't know about them so that he can't corrupt them with the one ring. So, yeah, I don't know where Sauron is going to get the other 17 rings.
16 rings. Well, because he's going to forge the one ring.
The one ring, I guess, is Mount Doom. So that one does get forged over there. But, yeah, the other... I don't know.
I'm just glad they haven't done the Gil-galad has a crush on Galadriel storyline.
Yeah.
It'd be weird considering how they cast it, even though she's significantly older than he is.
That's true.
There's going to be a lot of dislikes on this video because we didn't like it. And that is how our life is now. But we promised we'd finish the season. There's a part of me that thinks maybe we just don't do reactions for season 2.
Maybe.
I don't know if this was my favorite experience. And honestly, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know that I would watch season 2. Like, if we do reactions to it, I think I will. If the trailers are amazing and like it's like now with plot and pacing, the Rings of Power, I might come back. But like based on season 1, I don't know that I would probably binge it when it was done. But I just don't know that I would care week to week because based on how they told the story of season 1. Nothing can be spoiled for me until the end of the season anyway, because they don't tell you shit until the end, and the reveals aren't that satisfying.
I have no desire or excitement for any more of this, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a swing and a miss for us.
That's really sad. I was more excited for the 3rd Hobbit movie than I am for.
That's the question of the day. Which would I rather watch again?
I'm not joking. Like, I'm not excited for a season 2 of this, but I was excited for the 3rd Hobbit movie to see what they did.
Okay, the question of the day is, would you rather watch the 3 extended Hobbits or this season again?
The 3 Hobbits are shorter.
I don't think they are. I think it's like almost 9 hours.
I thought they were like, oh, maybe. Yeah, the extended versions.
Yeah, the full editions of The Hobbit. Would you rather watch that or this? It's a tougher question, right? You shave off, I think, about 40 minutes by watching this. Well, maybe not. Some of those episodes are like an hour 15.
That's the thing, is they add up.
So it's about the same amount of time. There's no songs. Oh, no, Poppy has that one song, but it's slow and sad. At least if you watch The Hobbit, you get Martin Freeman.
That's
you get That's What Bilbo Baggins Hates. Great song. And you also get the Misty Mountain song. It's a banger.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Radagast is in it.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly,
one of Christopher Lee's final performances. I think I would go with The Hobbits. Ultimately, like, I think I would rather sit down and binge that than watch this again. And I've watched each of these episodes 3 times.
Yeah.
No, 4 times now.
Yeah. Let's go to bed.
Yeah, let's go. If you like this video, like and subscribe to the channel. If you don't, we understand. Hit the dislike button. Leave mean comments down below because the algorithm god is hungry and we must feed her. As always, you can follow us all the way around the internet. I'm at Nerdy Nightly.
I'm at Clark's Polaris.
And don't forget that the full-length reaction, if you want to sit through this again, is over at patreon.com/nerdynightly. We're going to catch so much shit for being negative, but you know what? I didn't like it.
I'm not going to pretend to like things for anybody.
So. Here's the thing. She-Hulk's done, and this is done. The only things that I'm not actively enjoying in my life right now are over. And next week it is House of the Dragon, Chainsaw Man, Andor, and Stranger Things.
Let's go.
And all positive for me next week.
Yes, we love to see it.
We made it through. We survived. How long was this episode? It was like an hour and 15 minutes, right? An hour and 7.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Next season, 50 minutes, 55 minutes maybe. Maybe get one episode that's over an hour, but you don't need 8 over an hour long episodes. Or drop them at 9 p.m.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.